Imagine being trapped on a ship, locked in ice at the bottom of the world. For 7 endless months, 28 men sat frozen in the middle of the Antarctic Ocean, surrounded by millions of tons of solid ice. Then one night, a thunderous crack echoed from beneath them. The ship lurched violently to one side, as if some invisible force had slammed into it from below. No one could have imagined what was coming next. This is Rivo TV, and tonight, we're diving into one of the greatest survival stories ever told. The Antarctic Ocean is not a place built for human life. Waves rise as tall as skyscrapers, winds howl at more than 60 miles an hour, and the water is so cold it can freeze a man solid in minutes. Surviving here is like dancing on the edge of death. Even if you survive the storms, icebergs the size of mountains can crush a ship like it's nothing more than a toy. Yet in 1914, 28 men sailed straight into this frozen nightmare. With no modern technology, no radios, no satellites, just a wooden ship and their courage, they embarked on an expedition that became one of the most legendary survival sagas in human history. At the center of it all was Sir Ernest Shackleton, a man obsessed with testing the limits of human endurance. He named his ship Endurance, because that was the only way he and his crew could hope to survive. Shackleton had already attempted the Antarctic twice before. In 1901, he was forced back 500 miles from the South Pole. In 1907, he tried again and came within 90 heartbreaking miles. But this time, his ambition was greater. He wanted to be the first person to cross the entire continent of Antarctica on foot. He called it the Imperial Trans-Antarctic Expedition. Recruiting men for what looked like a suicide mission wasn't easy. So Shackleton placed a brutally honest ad in the newspaper. Men wanted for hazardous journey. Low wages. Bitter cold. Long months of complete darkness. Constant danger. Safe return doubtful. And somehow, it worked. 27 men signed on, ready to gamble their lives. When World War I broke out, it seemed the expedition might be cancelled. But Britain gave Shackleton the green light. All he needed was a ship. By chance, a Norwegian vessel built for polar hunting became available after its business plan failed. Shackleton bought it, renamed it Endurance, and prepared for his journey into hell. This wasn't just any ship. Built from solid oak and reinforced for the crushing ice, it carried both sails and an engine, a hybrid design built to punch through the frozen sea. On August 8, 1914, Shackleton and his crew of 27 set sail from England. Along with them came 50 sled dogs, trained to haul supplies across the ice. After months of preparation on South Georgia Island, they turned south in December 1914. For weeks, all went well. Then, on January 18, 1915, just a day from land, they hit an unbreakable wall of ice. Sheets nearly 20 feet thick locked the Endurance in place. Shackleton's dream shattered, just 80 miles from the coast. The men fought back. They hacked at the ice, hauled on ropes, even tried to drag their 300-ton ship forward. After weeks of backbreaking labor, they moved it only a few hundred yards. The truth sank in, the Endurance was trapped. So they waited. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. Frozen in place, the ship drifted with the moving ice. Shackleton kept morale alive with soccer games, shared meals, even haircuts. The men grew close, even bonding with their dogs. But under the laughter, everyone knew, they were stranded at the edge of the world. By April, the ice began to crush them. Giant slabs piled up, groaning and grinding with unimaginable force. On July 14, disaster struck. A deep crack roared beneath them, and the ship tilted sharply. The rudder was destroyed. By October, the hull bent 30 degrees, water gushed in, and Shackleton knew it was over. On October 27, 1915, he gave the dreaded order, abandon ship. They salvaged what they could, food, gear, sleds, lifeboats, even the dogs. Then, in silence, they watched the Endurance break apart and vanish beneath the ice. Their home, their only shelter, was gone. Now survival meant one thing: reaching land. Shackleton aimed for Paulet Island, 350 miles away. But crossing the drifting ice was a nightmare. They dragged their boats, camped on slabs of ice that cracked beneath them, and lived off penguins and seals. Sometimes the floes carried them in the wrong direction, pushing them farther from hope. By February 1916, they were starving. Rations fell to a single biscuit a day. In desperation, they slaughtered their own sled dogs for food. Their drifting ice carried them not to Paulet, but to Elephant Island instead. After 16 brutal months, they finally set foot on solid land in April 1916, the first time in over a year. But Elephant Island was barren, freezing, and hopeless. They couldn't survive there for long. Shackleton made a choice. Their only chance was South Georgia Island, 800 miles away across the deadliest seas on Earth. On April 24, 1916, Shackleton and 5 men climbed into a 22-foot lifeboat and set sail into hell itself. For 16 days, they fought hurricane winds, 90-foot waves, freezing spray, and sub-zero temperatures. They navigated by nothing but the stars and a sextant. Against all odds, on May 10, they reached South Georgia, but on the wrong side of the island. Between them and rescue stood 4,000-foot mountains no one had ever crossed. Shackleton and 2 men hiked non-stop for 36 hours over peaks of ice and rock, until they finally stumbled into a whaling station. The workers were stunned. These gaunt, ghost-like figures hardly looked human. But Shackleton wasn't done. He had promised his men he'd bring them home alive. After several failed attempts, he finally returned to Elephant Island on August 30, 1916. As his ship approached, smoke from a signal fire curled into the sky. Shackleton braced himself for tragedy. But miraculously, every single man was still alive. The expedition had begun in August 1914. 2 years and 22 days later, Shackleton kept his promise. He brought all 28 men home. He never crossed Antarctica. His earlier attempts had failed. But through his willpower and leadership, Shackleton achieved something greater: the survival of every man under his command. His story became legend. And more than a century later, in 2022, the wreck of the Endurance was finally found, 10,000 feet beneath the Antarctic Ocean. Remarkably preserved, the ship's name is still clear on its stern. A silent reminder of the men who endured the impossible. This is Rivo TV, and that was the incredible story of Sir Ernest Shackleton, the Endurance, and the survival journey that defied death itself. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.